Good morning. Some ways that's such a Zen trope. The teacher says good morning, everybody says good morning. I mean, it's sweet. It's not just we all said good morning to each other. First of all, thank you again to Debbie for taking care of the Sangha last Thursday, and for all of you for always taking care of and for being the Sangha. And while Marianne was there too, up in Bellingham, Washington, ordaining Raisula Bain. There was put a picture in the newsletter that came out yesterday. If for any reason you don't get the newsletter, make sure to tell Ellen? Yeah. Practice period. The application is in the newsletter. Applications are due on Saturday, please. It helps everybody. Please also know you have to sign up separately for the all-day sit, which is on the 12th, the following Sunday, when we do the opening and the entering of the Shuso, which is always a really fun event because you never know whether they're going to stay or not. We all have to be there to convince them. It's never happened yet that the Shuso is really bailed, but one never knows. And I also want to say, because I haven't said, I've said other years because people remind me, is please sign up for the practice period in whatever way you can. That would be wonderful. And if you can't, Sangha goes on always just as it is, and everybody is always welcome whether you're in the practice period or not. We're going to be covering a part of the Avatamsaka Sutra, which is an ancient, an early Chinese text, the 10 grounds of the Bodhisattva. And what I want to start out with is, if we can pull it off, take responsibility if we can't. In the newsletter, there is the recording of Bhikkhu Bodhi's talk on discernment and engaged Buddhism, and I would really encourage you to listen to it. And his opening, he does a meditation that he says that he does every day. That's about a half an hour meditation, but for this purpose of this talk that he gave at Upaya, it's about a 5-minute meditation, and I think it's so lovely. I even thought, if somebody's inspired you, have nothing else to do, you could transcribe it. I mean, it's just because so much always, and maybe especially in these times, in a particular way, because I think what he's offering as an antidote is we get so tied up in ourselves. I mean, we're so self-oriented. But it's just what human beings do. And this is such a beautiful meditation of how it's a little bit like Rachel at the Avatamsaka Sutra, of how he just keeps broadening his mind and his heart. So that instead of sitting here as a little self-stewing in whatever we're stewing in the moment, or whatever is going on, is we're just sitting here in this vast and indescribable and wondrous universe, and we don't ignore what's happening right here and thises and that's, and how do we respond. But anyway, so we'll see what happens. I'm turning up the sound. I think the sound is up. Gretchen recommended we may have to go off of audio, but let me just try for a second here. Let me just...
When I'm sort of bombarded by all of the misery and violence and suffering
Can you all hear
of
it?
the world, one finds a need
Okay.
to lift up.
Okay, bombarded by the suffering of the world. I'm sure we're all just fine. But in case this ever happens, let's just sit for a minute and listen to Biko Bodhis.
Chris,
Yeah.
you might want, will it help, I don't know, for the people online to put your phone closer to the mic? Will it?
I think they're not, they're okay, we're okay, I think.
Okay,
Good.
they're okay. And if for whatever reason, you know, something happens or it doesn't work for you, just sit zazen. It's about 5 minutes long, okay?
All right, just to strengthen the heart, to fortify the soul. And so first you take a firm, comfortable sitting position. Center the mindfulness in the body. And to fully unfold this meditation usually takes about 30 minutes, but I'm going to try to compress it just into about 5 minutes. And it's a meditation, a kind of mudita, or rejoicing in the merits and virtues of others. And so first, as Buddhists, we bring to mind the Buddha himself. And I like to, in my mind, visualize and imagine the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, looking out on the Niranjara River just immediately after his enlightenment, when nobody else in the world knows that a Buddha has arisen in the world. But for him, all of the darkness of ignorance, delusion, and defilements have been dispelled. And then we rejoice in his attainment of the supreme, unsurpassed enlightenment. And then we bring to mind now the Buddha setting out from Bodh Gaya and arriving in the deer park at Sanath, setting in motion the wheel of the Dharma, the first transmission of the teaching, passing the light, the torch of enlightenment to others. And then we think of his teaching career of 45 years, and one rejoices in all of his enlightening activities on behalf of others, guiding countless people to the liberation from suffering. Up to his passing into a final nirvana. And as we think of this, then we rejoice in that career of liberating beings from suffering. And then one brings to mind the countless Buddhas, the fully enlightened ones, throughout the 10 directions, through all the different galaxies and world systems of the 10 directions, performing the work of liberating, teaching, spinning the wheel of Dharma to liberate beings from suffering. And then we rejoice in their enlightening activities. And then we can bring to mind the great bodhisattvas, starting with Maitreya, residing in the Tusita Deva world. bodhisattvas, just waiting for the opportunity to open up, to descend into this human realm, to start teaching the Dhamma. And then you could bring to mind all of the other great bodhisattvas, the four main bodhisattvas. Manjushri, representing wisdom. Samantabhadra, great activity. Guan Yin, or Avalokiteshvara, great compassion. And Kashitigarbha, great vows. And rejoice in their great compassion, their enlightening activities, their vast accumulations of merits and virtues and wisdom. And as you rejoice, let that joy fortify your hearts, your minds, your souls, the depths of your being. And then we come back to the human realm, and I think of the great personal disciples of the Buddha, Sariputta, Moggallana, Ananda, Mahakashyapa, the great bhikkhunis, Mahapajapati, Kema, Upalavanda, Kisagotami. And then we rejoice in their achievements, their profound sila, samadhi, and panya, their virtue, meditation, and wisdom. And we let their anubhava, their spiritual power, seep into our mind streams and bring strength, courage, determination, delight. And we think of the streams of succession of all of the Buddhist great masters and teachers and different lineages, from ancient times right down to the present. All those who memorized, recited, wrote down the Dharma, taught the Dharma, practiced it to the various stages of attainment, right down to your own immediate teachers, and rejoice in those great lineages. And then I bring to mind all the followers of any spiritual tradition, any religious tradition, Buddhist or non-Buddhist, who have a commitment to love, compassion, justice, a vision of the humanity of, a vision of the unity of humanity, and care and compassion for all sentient beings. And rejoice in their commitment to advancing these ideals, despite all of the darkness, pressure, and obstacles. And then I bring to mind those in various secular domains of activity who are acting out of self-sacrifice, renunciation, and compassion. For example, I bring to mind the doctors and other medical workers who go into war-torn countries like now Gaza or Sudan, volunteering their services in order to save lives, even at great personal risk to themselves. And then I bring to mind another sphere of secular activity, the journalists who are committed to exposing the truth, so precious, so necessary. The truth that dispels our ignorance and delusions and reveals what is happening around the world, so that we can act on the basis of truth. And I bring to mind all of the people throughout this world who are committed to wholesome activities, to working for the benefit of others, inspired by universal love and compassion, the sense of solidarity and empathy. And then just rejoice in that dedication, that wave of solidarity, of interconnectedness, and dedication to promoting the welfare of people everywhere and the welfare of sentient beings everywhere. And then you can rejoice with a few mindful in and out breaths. And then you can mindfully open your eyes and relax. Yeah, to really do that meditation properly, as I said,
And if you could see him on screen, then he's got a big smile. How can you feel alone? I mean, and we do. How can we feel despairing or the things that we feel, and we do? But that's such a beautiful meditation. He just does that every day. I mean, even if you just did a little taste of it every day to remind us how vast and interconnected, and that we and all the bodhisattvas across time and space are kind of, it's fearlessness and generosity. It's like, here we are. Okay, thank you. And that is part of the talk. That's it's in the newsletter and on the Upaya website. So then I thought, because we have this lineage that we are in, Suzuki Roshi, Shakyamuni and Dogen and all the teachers and the lineages, and we've got Suzuki Roshi on the altar, but we are, for this week and next week, taking us into the practice period, we're doing Becoming Yourself, Teachings on the Zen Way of Life, which is the new book that Sojin Mel Weissman and Jiru, current abbot at Green Gulch, put together. I was saying on Tuesday, when I came home, I was trying to figure out what to talk about and what was here, and I looked at Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and then I looked at Not Always So, because those were the first two books, and then this book, and was struck by how simple this book is. The others are, I mean, they're both wonderful, but this one, Mel, I think we can probably attribute it to Mel, and in fact, I sort of heard, Jiru would be working on this because he's younger, and Mel has been doing this. Mel is no longer alive, but a seasoned elder, and Mel just kept wanting to what's the essence of it? What's really happening here? What is this practice? And so it's a much simpler book. Of course, none of this is simple, and it's completely simple. So I want to bring forward, I'm now moving into what's called the appendix and the 16 Bodhisattva precepts. It says we should consider them always and we should not forget them, but we should not be bound by the teachings or the precepts. I loved how broad Bhikkhu Bodhi is vast and then coming down through the traditions, but then right down into this world and to people who practice in the world, and that our teachers are everywhere. So I want to bring forward the chapter appropriately called, I think, Taking Refuge in Buddha. So what is this taking refuge in Buddha? What is this taking refuge? The little paragraph underneath says, when we become one with it, there is no communion or interrelationship because it is just one. That is to completely take refuge in its true sense. Okay. To take refuge in Buddha. I've always really liked that refuge. My understanding is the translation means to fly home to, which is, because I'm visceral and I like it, is just fly home. It's right. It's right here. You fly home to this body. You fly home to this heart. You fly home to Buddha, and the whole world is Buddha's body. You fly home to just this. But we'll see what Suzuki Roshi says in addition. To take refuge in Buddha means to become one with Buddha, or to find our true nature, which is not different from Buddha. Dogen Zenji uses the phrase kanandoko, which means responsive communion. Isn't that interesting? Responsive communion. Already that word, it's like, what is it? It is a very difficult phrase to translate. Kanan means to respond to each other, and doko means true relationship. Do is Tao or path, and ko is interrelationship. In terms of conscious awareness, Kanan Doko happens for us in this way. We feel some coherence, interrelationship, or correspondence between Buddha and ourselves. We feel, or I could say I feel, I have these moments, and you probably do too, where there's some sense of, aha, coherence, interrelationship. Buddha and me, the whole world is Buddha's body. Yep. But then Suzuki Roshi says, I mean, of course we forget it, but then we remember it, and then the moments. And although we feel that way, originally there is no difference between Buddha nature and human nature. So it is more than responsive communion or relationship. But in our conscious awareness, it feels that way. So because it's an I or a me feeling this, and we have conscious awareness, and that's how we know things, that's the way we transcribe it, which is beautiful. That's kind of what Bhikkhu Bodhi did, but he just kept taking us beyond and beyond. By mutual communion, or kanandoko, we mean the true experience of Zen. So what is this? What is this true experience of Zen? What is the finger pointing at the moon? What is it that we're actually doing? It is not some ecstasy or mysterious state of mind. It's nothing extra. And then he says, and this feels like Bhikkhu Bodhi too, it is a deep joy that is even more than joy. That's the teaching of the Avatamsaka Sutra. What is this deep joy that is even more than joy? You may have this true experience through some change in your mental state, but a change of mental state is not, strictly speaking, enlightenment. So then enlightenment, we're back to what is this enlightenment thing? That's been, always. Enlightenment is more than that. Don't think enlightenment is something that you can get or calibrate. So what is this thing that we keep talking about that, sort of part of the language of our tradition? That part that we experience, direct experience, immediate experience, unmediated experience, is the joy of a mysterious experience. It's not ordinary mind. But something else follows. That something which follows aside from this experience is true enlightenment, or the true essence of just this, or this practice. So you should not suppose that enlightenment, even though it is there, will always be experienced in terms of consciousness. It's like, I got it. What did you get? I got it. I lost it. I had it. What was that? By carrying out your various activities with this subtle caution, it's like, don't get caught. Because the minute you turn it into something, you already lost it, right? And then you just start wanting it more, or whatever that was. The experience becomes deeper and more and your consciousness will become more and more mature and smooth. What is this living that is more mature and smooth? It is the maturity of your experience of everyday life, which I think is what bodhisattva activity is in the world. There's a kind of maturity and smoothness to it, a continuity, a vow. And while I, like you, probably we get caught in the waves and the choppiness and the identification with this, and we get tossed around, but there's also this ocean, this deep ocean joy experience that we more and more trust and entrust ourselves to. When enlightenment does not follow, anyway, whatever this thing is that follows what we might call an enlightenment experience, but I'll say something about that in a minute. Your experience is black and white, good, bad, enlightened, unenlightened, had it, didn't have it. When true experience follows your conscious activity or conscious experience, the way you receive and use it is more natural, smooth, and deep. The way I would describe it is we just more and more become a true human being. We're just here. And everything that Bhikkhu Bodhi was talking about is there's more compassion and there's more love. There's more a sense of mutuality and non-separation. And it happens, and it just looks like kindness. I think so much, it was such a gift that the Dalai Lama said, my religion is kindness. If you remember this point, all the precepts are there. You will not be attached to some particular experience, and you will not be caught by a dualistic experience of good or bad, or of self or others. In short, when you do everything as you do Zazen, then all precepts will be there. When we say that when we just sit, our mind is clear and we have no special experience whatsoever. I mean, what are you doing when you're sitting Zazen? Why do you come do this? I mean, do you come because you have some special experience and you want to keep buffing it up? I mean, it is a kind of special experience, but it's no more than anything. And just the experience of just sitting down, placing yourself on the earth. The feeling of uprightness and breath, and that the world, there's no gap. And then Bhikkhu Bodhi's meditation of the experience of without all the words of it is just everything and everybody across time and space is here supporting us. And we're not alone. And whatever we experience is happening in the news thread or in the daily news is part of, it's part of the particulars of alive, but it's not all of it. And it's so, so important. That's why I'm so excited that we're doing the Avatamsaka Sutra, is to remember how deep and vast and broad alive is. You may have some sudden change of mental state. Even that experience, an enlightenment experience, is not true enlightenment. You will be seeing or realizing something in terms of consciousness, but that simply means you are seeing something. That's all. It may not be yours. You are seeing something there, something beautiful. That is your experience. That's all. It is a true experience, but it is not enough. We should become one with the truth. You know the stories of, maybe you don't know, but I'll remind us again, is when somebody would come to Suzuki Roshi and say, I had this great experience. All of a sudden, I dropped body and mind and the world opened up and all the Bodhi, whatever it was. And he would just say, that's great. Here's the broom. Go sweep the walk. Just take care of your life. Just take care of this life. That is to take refuge in Buddha or truth. When we become one with it, there is no communion or interrelationship because it is just one. That is to completely take refuge in its true sense. So here's the last story. Namu, to take refuge. In Japanese means to plunge into something. You know, when you sew, you do namu keibutsu, and namu means to plunge. So you can say, I take refuge in Buddha, but you can also say, I plunge into Buddha. And because visceral always works better for me, I just, when I sew, it's like I plunge into Buddha. I plunge into Buddha. You say, and we say, you cannot bring up water in a basket. If you put the basket on the water, the basket will sink. That is the way. As long as you are making a dualistic effort, you are a basket and you cannot do anything. You are full of holes, and holes are you. We say Morochi, wisdom with no holes, but our wisdom is whole wisdom, wisdom with holes, H-O-L-E-S. Isn't that nice? What is it? What is wisdom with holes? Morochi means no holes wisdom, but for us, no holes wisdom is just to dip a basket in the water. While it is in the water, there are no holes. That is Namu, to take refuge, and that is how we practice Zazen. That is the interpretation of precepts and the understanding of our Zazen. Holes are you. You are full of holes. Do you get this? I kind of get it, and I don't get it at all. For us, no holes wisdom is just to dip a basket in the water. While it is in the water, there are no holes. It makes me think, often when people decide that they I always keep saying, and I want to keep saying forever, is you know, it doesn't matter if you sew or, I mean, what matters is no holes wisdom and living your life fully and wholly. But often when people say, okay, I think I want to sew, and then I'm ready, and then everything comes up to tell you all the reasons that you're not ready, and what a mess you are, and how your stitches are terrible, and what in the world were you thinking? And anybody here ever had that? And then I take refuge, you just plunge in over and over and over. This is it. And Bhikkhu Bodhi's meditation is such a beautiful reminder of that when we plunge in, the whole world is here supporting us. And Buddha nature, which is who we truly are, has always been here, will always be here. There are hard times in the world. There are times of hope in the world. But the fundamental ground is joy. So what is this? How do we live this? So we have a little bit of time. Why don't you just go into groups of, let's just do twos. Turn towards somebody who's near you, and anything this brings up. But what does it mean to you to take refuge in Buddha or any of this? What is